Welcome to the Grand Review. This is the show where we talk about movie news and do reviews. That's pretty much how it is. I'm the guy who hosts this show.
The ghost with the most.
I was going to say the ghost with the most, but then I decided, I'm going to go with, the guy who can't take his head off even if he wants to, just for a break.
So you already screwed it up.
I completely screwed up the entire intro. Anyway, I'm Garrett Ray, and joining me, as always, it's my partner in crime, the man who always has something to say that is helpful and not mean at all. It's it's the Delia who will tell you the truth. It's Andy Delia.
Thank you, Garrett.
I had a whole thing and it immediately escaped the moment I hit record.
That's what happens when you don't write stuff down.
I would have to learn how to write first. Okay, so if you've never joined us before, normally it starts better than that, whatever. But basically how this works is we're going to do a review of a movie that came out this week, and then we'll do that up front. We'll do spoiler-free, and then there's spoilers, and we'll let you know when we get to that point. All of the time codes and stuff is down in the notes on the show, and then we'll do news after everything. Other shows, Andy.
Yep.
I don't know if you know this.
What?
They do the news first because they don't respect your time.
Cinemark.
Like Cinemark doesn't respect your time with all the ads they show. The movie starts
I can say that too because I used to work for them. So I have no problem bashing them in the head with a shovel.
The movie starts at 8:50. Be sure to be in your seat by 11:30 p.m. for the first frame of the actual movie you paid
Not to
for.
mention for the worst film ever made, too.
Gosh, I cannot believe we sat through all that just to watch The Crow. Anyway,
I can't either.
This week we didn't have to sit through too much stuff. We sat through some fun trailers, and then we watched Beetlejuice Beetlejuice.
Because I realize people's time's valuable. Including my own.
Yeah, I would never say that about my own time. Mine is both expendable and running short. So, fun.
You're not even that old yet, so...
I know, but I've lived a life, man. I tell you what,
Okay.
I've been through some stuff. Like, there was this one time, I didn't get a straw when I went through McDonald's.
You poor thing.
I've been through it. I've been through the ringer.
Is that like not getting your non-fat cappuccino latte through the drive-thru at Starbucks? I mean, Starbucks?
No, what am I, gay?
You need to cut that out.
Yeah, that was just for us. It's something like that. I don't know. I like Starbucks, though. I'm definitely going to put that one in my back pocket for calling them out.
I hate Starbucks.
No, I like saying Star sucks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I infuriate my family every time that I say it.
Look, Starbucks is run by people who sell overpriced coffee to people who don't know what better coffee tastes like.
Well,
and I don't even like coffee.
Not to mention, too, I think they're discriminatory against diabetics because they have one sugar-free flavor, and it's horrible.
But aren't they the anti-discriminatory coffee company?
Well, they hired an ex-employee of mine, so that says a lot.
I don't know what that would say, but I'm going to assume it's bad based on your tone. All right, well, let's get back to what we were doing. So Beetlejuice came out this weekend. It has definitely been a critical darling as far as everything I've seen online.
Yeah.
But as we all know, that the only opinion that matters is, of course, yours. So, Andy, what did you think of Beetlejuice?
I loved it. It's exactly what I had hoped it was going to be. I thought there were some minor curveballs thrown at me during that I didn't quite expect.
Okay.
I thought the story was good. I thought it was silly. I thought it. So yeah, it was everything that I had wanted to see.
And you've been waiting for 36 years for this movie.
Yes.
So I mean, normally with that sort of build-up, eventually you're always disappointed by it. But the fact that you're not, I think, says a lot.
No, not in this case. Like, it's not to mention too the people that they got together from the original one. They just all work very well together. And you could tell they had such a fun time working on this that it's really hard not to get caught up in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is definitely a feeling of excitement to be doing it, both from the performers and just behind the camera. You can kind of tell everyone's like, oh yeah, we get to do that, and having fun with it. And I think that's infectious.
Well, that Tim Burton said too, like bringing on Jenna Ortega, like she fit immediately. Mm-hmm. Like she knew exactly how to play the scene. She knew exactly what Tim Burton wanted. Yeah. And she was perfect for what they wanted her for.
Yeah, I agree. I had never actually seen much of Jenna Ortega's performances because I didn't watch Wednesday.
I liked Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't seen that, and I know that there were some controversy about her being like on set. She was like, "I won't do that because that's not the character," and like kind of not squabbling with the writers, but like making changes to things as they went. That I believe kind of became a positive learning experience for her to go like, I should have respected them more.
Well, at least she didn't do what the girl from the Hunger Games did.
Yeah, she's not a Snow White level of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, career killer.
Oh, she's done. Rachel Ziegler's done.
Rachel Ziegler, I can never remember her name.
I can't remember anyone's name.
Well, it's not going to matter because in a couple of years she's going to be serving me burgers through drive-thru. So
maybe, but that's assuming that. Like, Burger King's not going to hire someone who will tell people what's actually in the burgers. So, but yeah, no, I think that I had more fun in this movie than I've had in a movie in a very long time.
Oh yeah, I could tell.
I have not laughed this hard in a movie.
I could definitely
in so long. And I'm not a Tim Burton fan generally. Like his whole style is kind of off-putting to me. I watched the first Beetlejuice for the first time in my life yesterday morning.
Yeah.
And I remember I was watching it and I was like, this is pretty good. Like, this is way better than what I expected. And like, I had seen maybe a clip or something of it as a child and it kind of spooked me out because it was creeped me out because, they stretch their faces and all that stuff. So there was stuff from that like as a kid, I was like, why would I want to watch that? And then I watched it as an adult. I'm like, that's actually really funny. Yeah. It's very funny. And so this one, I think, and I can kind of get into why and spoilers later, but it is very much the same spirit of the original, but with what I think is a progression and a maturity in the level of filmmaking.
Yeah.
I mean, budget, obviously.
But yet it's still, it didn't rely on CGI, or at least it didn't look like it to me.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. I have some interesting thoughts.
The practical effects on this were just as good as the original one.
Yeah, and I think that I'll get into that in great detail with you because I'm excited to talk about that. That's the nerdy stuff I love. But overall, I think that the pacing of this is a major improvement over kind of what the original was doing. Because the original is very go, 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 and this one is too. Yeah. But some of the jokes land a little bit better because of some pacing things here it's hard to put your finger on, but you can definitely tell Tim Burton's been making movies for a long time and understands those beats.
The jokes are actually a little bit more funnier in this one too than it was the original.
Oh yeah, I think this is like twice as funny as the first one, honestly. And I understand why the first one is a cult classic and why people love it so much. And I do like it. I like it a lot.
And it's weird that when it came out, it was a flop.
So I read on that it was a $15 million budget. It made $75 million at the box office for the year. So it was like number 10 at the box office for the year. But yeah, it wasn't doing gangbusters like Jaws or something.
And I know the circle of friends that I had that we went to go see it, like when I was a junior in high school. Mm-hmm. I was the only one that liked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the rest of my friends hated it and was like, you're an idiot for liking this movie. And I'm like, why? I'm like, what's not to like about this film?
Yeah, but those guys probably peaked in high school and you peaked way later. So yes. I think you won. I was proven right eventually about that movie I saw.
That's right. They made a sequel even 36 years later, but they made a sequel.
I think that generally overall it was a very positive experience. I had a lot of fun. There are some I'm not going to, obviously, I don't want to spoil any of the jokes here in this section. There are some things I want to talk about specifically that really, really got my goat, as the kids say. But I think that the performances throughout are really solid. If there's anyone that I wasn't like 100% sold on, it was actually, weirdly enough, Winona Ryder. But I think that's more of just a recognizing personal tics thing for me than it is a actual performance issue.
The one I wasn't sold on was Justin Theroux.
Interesting, because I love Justin Theroux in this because I thought he was so gloriously annoying.
Okay, so yeah, I will go with that then. But he was the one. And Winona Ryder didn't bother me as much as it did you.
Well, it's not really that she bothered me. It was just there were a couple moments where I was like, oh, that kind of reminds me of her performance in Stranger Things more than her performance as Lydia from the first one.
That's right. I keep forgetting she's in Stranger Things.
Yeah, she's Will's mom. But she's also, this character has been through 36 years of life. So it's like, no, it makes sense. Like, she is a mom. She does. Right. So all of that stuff makes sense. But it was just, I was thinking about that other performance while I was in it. That was the only thing that took me out of the movie at any point.
Yeah, just as long as you didn't think of Welcome Home Roxy Carmichael, which is a bad Winona Ryder film.
I would have to know what that was to think about it.
It's a bad Winona Ryder film.
All right.
Like she did that for Paramount at her heyday solely for a paycheck, and you can tell.
Yep. Okay. But no, I like, even though, and I'm not even criticizing her performance. It was just, that was a personal, like, me thing, like going, I recognize this little kind of tick that she has that she didn't have in the first one. And so watching those back to back.
Well, she's supposed to be older now, so
lucky for her, she was. So good casting.
And I still love Catherine O'Hara.
Oh, she steals the show.
Yeah,
man, she is killing it in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
I always like her.
She's good in the first one, but this one is
and way better than Argyle, I might add.
Did we review that on the show? I think we did.
We did, but we never aired it.
Is that true?
We never put it.
Oh, well, no.
So actually, this is our 21st podcast. If you include,
that's right. We did just do
Argyle.
A test one, didn't we?
Right, and Argyle was the test one that we never put out there. Probably because Argyle was a crappy movie.
It was not worth it to edit, I think. But yeah, what a film.
Yeah. And Drew still loves it.
Hey, he's consistent. I'll give him that. So yeah, I think that overall the movie really, really does, like, the performances are great throughout. Michael Keaton's killing it as always.
Who just turned 73 yesterday?
Is he 73?
Yeah,
he looks great.
Yeah,
that's what that adrenochrome will do for you. Allegedly.
I even got to be an extra in one of his films in Pittsburgh.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, Gung Ho.
Gung Ho. That's right. You have mentioned that before. Yeah, Gung Ho. I have not seen it.
One of Ron Howard's earlier films.
Would I see you in it?
No, I'm in it. There's a union meeting, and I think it was shot at Soldiers and Sailors Hall in Pittsburgh, and I'm just in there.
Gotcha. Okay. I need to show you the movie My All American. There's one shot I'm in it 4 times as different people because they, like, stitched it all together.
Oh, was it Dennis Quaid?
No, it was Aaron Eckert. It was about a footballer from UT.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah, because
I passed out in front of Two-Face while filming that.
Everybody's All-American was the Dennis Quaid one, Taylor Hackford movie.
I'm starting to think we're running out of names for things. I don't know why.
We are.
So I do think that there are some plot things. You said curveballs. Was that a positive curveball or a negative curveball?
No, it was. Yeah, it's hard to talk about without getting into spoilers, but the Jenna Ortega's ordeal that she deals with, and the situation that she gets in, did not see that coming.
Oh my God, thank God.
And it was
because I didn't either, and I felt really stupid because I was like, Andy's going to tell me that was so obvious.
No.
Oh, thank God.
Oh no, because when all those pieces are unfolded to that storyline, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. We've definitely got to talk about that in spoilers.
Yeah.
I think there are some bits where certain storylines could have intertwined a little bit more, and it could have been more, I'm using finger quotes
cohesive?
Here, more clever in how it kind of crosses those things. But it's not a problem because at every point in the movie, I was still enjoying what it was doing. So it's not a criticism, it's a thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so I'll definitely, I think that'll be an interesting thing to talk about, is kind of how some of those things could have intertwined a little bit more. My wife loved it. She thought it was very funny. But she did say, and because she hasn't seen the original, so she, going in like fresh as a newborn baby. Not that those are always that fresh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if Hannah was going to appreciate this at all.
She thought it was really funny. Like she had a good time. She felt like some story stuff was a little rushed, especially with one particular character that we'll talk about in spoilers.
36 years, how rushed could it be?
I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of another sequel where it's like, oh, there was a long time between those and they really screwed it up. The Crow.
That's an understatement.
There's a lot of references throughout this that are, fun if you're a fan of the original, but I don't think it gets too much into the weeds with that and just being fan servicey. Like
Burton said he really tried to stay away from that too.
Yeah.
Like that's why the Maitlands aren't in it.
That's one reason, yeah. But I also think that the choice to kind of follow the Dietz instead of focusing on the Maitlands is the right choice.
It was right, because honestly, the Maitlands, even in the original ones, they're not that interesting.
No.
To some degree. Like,
And their story wraps up, really. I mean, at the end, they find, a way to coexist.
And I mean, Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin did a good job with that.
Yeah.
And I'm still always surprised that they were in it.
Dude, I heard recently that someone's appealing to try and get his charges reinstated.
Yeah.
So that's a whole thing going on. We don't know what's going on with that, but...
The sad thing about the original one, to carry over from that to the new one, there's no Glenn Shaddix in this, who was Otho in the original, and because he had passed away.
Oh, had he?
So there was no reason to try to bring that character back.
Yeah.
And he was one of the things I really liked about the original one, just because his so pretentious goofiness and
right. Yeah.
And, definitely one of those New York scenester kind of people that are annoying.
Yes. He plays that part perfectly, which is why I actually was kind of almost like glad he wasn't in this to a degree, because I hate that character so much.
Yeah, he had passed away. So that's
did he at the end of the last one, when his clothes get changed for a blue suit because of Beetlejuice, does his little magic thing on it, does he scream simply because it's tacky?
That, and it's polyester.
Ah, okay. Does he say polyester? I think I missed that. Okay.
But it's supposed to be a polyester leisure suit.
Okay, that's very funny.
And that's of course anti-fashion and everything that he was standing for. And
I love that.
And it's like so incredibly hideous and shocking that's why he had to go running from the room.
That's very funny.
And the Sylvia, I can't think of her last name, that played Juno.
Oh man, I was missing Juno so much.
But she's passed away too, so there was no reason to bring her back.
Juno, I think she won an Academy Award or something for Best Supporting Actress in Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love those
Not
characters.
to mention when she smokes and the smoke comes out of the slit in her throat.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Gosh, these movies, man, I have a lot of respect for the Beetlejuice, the original and this now, because they are examples of the craft and art and the love of filmmaking.
And Tim Burton, he really does that.
Yeah, he really does. I'm normally put off by his kind of just his.
I'm not.
Thing,
I always am curious of what he's going to come up with, and I may not like it some of the times, but. Definitely like the stop motion stuff, Frankenweenie. I love that. I thought that was
great.
I'm
going to go check that out now. Honestly, after seeing this, I think I'm more of a Tim Burton fan than I have ever been.
Okay.
Like Alice in Wonderland, I have a soft spot for in some regards, just because of I thought it was such an interesting kind of mix of VFX and things. So I like it from that standpoint.
I like it better when he doesn't use Johnny Depp, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
Because Mars Attacks is another one that I love.
I love Mars Attacks.
And Sylvia's in that too. Mm-hmm. And she's the reason for the demise of the aliens with her Slim Whitman record, which is hilarious.
Yes, that movie is fantastic. I love how silly it is. I think I've stayed away from Tim Burton stuff more than I have tried to look for it. And I think this movie has changed my mind on that. It's still... he has a style and a visual language that I'm not always on board with, and I will never watch Dumbo. But that's not him being Tim Burton. That's just someone trying to make Dumbo, which was not good the first time.
Well, that's Disney.
Disney sucks.
Disney's... There was no reason for that. Well, as most of their live action things, there's really no reason for it. No, so not at all. I think he got forced into that too by Disney. Like they had something on him.
He almost, he's in Hollywood. Everyone has something on everyone. But I think that this movie really, it's a return to those roots. And we talked about this on the show before. He talked about how they were kind of rewriting things as they thought of them being funnier on set, and they were allowing that process to happen. And I think it really shows through in the end product. It is a very fun time. It is, I think, if you are looking for anything that has any semblance of truth about life after death, this is sacrilegious on 900 levels. But I think that's really funny about it.
Yeah.
Also, I want to talk about the screenplay was written by a guy named Alfred Goff and Miles Millar, and they both are showrunners on Wednesday and Smallville, and they've done a bunch of stuff together.
Okay, so that's how they ended up with Beetlejuice, because Tim Burton was behind Wednesday.
Yes, and they also Miles Millar is a big part of the TV series Smallville and getting that going.
See, I didn't like Smallville.
Both of these guys wrote on Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which is the worst mummy movie.
Actually, that one's not that. I actually kind of like that one. I just didn't like the fact that they wrote out Rachel. Well, they didn't write out the character. They changed actresses.
Yeah, I still don't know why that happened.
And it was Rachel Weisz didn't want to do it anymore. And they brought in Maria Bello, who will say yes, just like Nicolas Cage will in a script, because she needs a paycheck. And she was the worst substitute for that character.
Yeah.
I think they should have just written her out and should have just made it the father and son for that, and off they went.
Yeah. I mean, props to him for wanting to still keep the original characters all there, but also, there's...
But it's got
recasting
Jet Li
is
in it.
very, very, very... It's a tricky thing to do. Once someone's established a character, that's rough. Unless it's Terrence Howard, who you can replace very easily with Don Cheadle. But these guys wrote on Spider-Man 2.
Oh, the one the
one that started my whole filmmaking career. Yeah, they wrote on that. But their career really runs the gamut. They wrote Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights, which I still contend are movies that I love because Jackie Chan.
I've never seen either of those.
Watch them for the Jackie Chan stuff alone. It's Jackie Chan's always a delight, even if he is a dirty communist.
Hey, just because he's Chinese doesn't mean...
No. He stands up for the Chinese Communist Party
a
lot. Yes, he's very, very, very staunch communist. But boy, he can take a hit. You have to learn how to when you live in a communist country.
And he has the hole in his head to prove it.
Yes, he does. But yeah, they've Spider-Man 2, fantastic. Wednesday, by all accounts, very good series.
Yeah,
but they also both wrote or were producers on the Hannah Montana movie. So really, a wide spanning career.
Once again, you need a paycheck.
That's true. Yep. But yeah, all right. Well, I think it's a wonderful mixture of practical and visual effects. I want to talk about that in depth.
Yes.
I want to talk about a lot of things in depth. So we're going to go ahead and say
spoilers
now. If you see a trailer and you think you might enjoy this, you will enjoy this.
Yeah, you will.
I don't think you'll be disappointed. So really, really excited to talk about this in depth. Spoilers! Spoiler alert! All right. The cinematographer. This guy has worked on the original Thor movie, which I think they should learn how to, level their camera out. But fine, it looked good. Cinderella, which I do. I
never bothered with that.
The trailer has some very pretty shots, so props to him. This is the cinematographer. His fault.
So that's
it's
two
not his
Kenneth
fault.
Branagh films.
Two. Yep. He also did Murder on the Orient Express,
3,
Death on the Nile, 4, Mamma Mia. Which I don't know who directed that, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was Kenneth Branagh.
It doesn't matter who directed that.
Hey, some people love those movies.
My wife.
Them. Oh, well.
I
watch your tone very, very carefully.
No, I have always said this to anybody. They're like, oh, but you won't watch that? Why won't you watch that? I didn't like the music of ABBA in the 70s when I was a kid, and I sure as heck don't like it now. They go back to Sweden and stay there.
I think they have for the most part.
And have some fish while you're at it.
Yeah, I hate musicals, so I never ever even looked at it. But okay, well, let's talk about spoilers.
Okay,
you want to talk story first?
Yeah,
let's talk story, and then we can get into kind of nitty gritty of film, making and all of that
technical
jazz.
Stuff.
So the story of this is basically 36 years after the first film.
Right.
Lydia Dietz, now an adult, has this TV show where she explores the supernatural and life after death and kind of tells people stories. It's very cheesy, very corny.
It's a complete scam.
Yes. Well, but is it though? It is for Rory. Rory's just in it for the money. Her boyfriend.
But the part that they show where she goes into that farmhouse at the beginning looks so completely staged.
It does, but at the same time, that's the kind of stuff that these spirits do. You see in the first one them do that kind of stuff where they're slamming doors and things. And it's not that far off from making everybody at the table dance in the first one.
There's a difference though, I think. At least that scene in the first one at the dinner table is a lot of fun and funny.
Yeah.
And it's even more funny that this is the tactic they tried to use to get everybody out of the house. It's
very funny to me.
It did not work not at all.
Bring them back down.
Right.
But yeah, so throughout this, basically, Richard, her father, dies. And
Right.
then we go on this whole journey. Beetlejuice is being hunted by his ex-wife, the soul-sucking ex-wife from the
Yes.
Black Plague era.
They didn't mention the finger thing with the ring though from the first one. I was kind of disappointed with that.
No, they didn't bring it up specifically. They
should
just showed her finger being separate, like it was the ring
Yeah,
finger.
but he had her ring in his pocket in the first one.
yeah.
That's how he took the ring off.
Right. Well, I think that the finger was just collected at some point and put over there with her pile of body parts.
Okay.
So I think that was kind of the idea, was just that it was like, well, you get it. You
Monica
know.
Bellucci is hot too, even as like the undead. So
What else has Monica Bellucci been in?
Shoot 'em
What
up.
do I know her from?
Passion of the Christ.
Was she really?
Yes.
I have not. I've only
She's
seen
Mary
that
Magdalene
once because
in
it was
Passion of the Christ.
It was too sad to watch twice. I
Well,
couldn't do it
it's
once.
like watching an execution.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So
Mel Gibson knows how to make you never want to watch something again
Yeah.
while also going, that was an incredibly accurate depiction of that. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
I'm looking forward to never watching the
Passion of the Christ too.
the
No, there.
Is there really?
Yes, the resurrection. It's next
Oh,
next
no.
spring. Yeah.
Is it Mel Gibson?
Yes.
I don't know about that.
I guess it'll give Jim Caviezel a job.
I mean, yeah.
'Cause nobody else will.
After Sound of Freedom, that's the only thing he's done. But yeah, I think that Monica Bellucci does a good job with not a lot given to her.
Right.
If that makes sense.
She has a screen presence, and not to mention
sure.
the fact that she's beautiful. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot 'Em Up is the other film that I always remember her from too, with
Haven't seen it.
Clive Owen and Paul Giamatti. It's a live action Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Okay.
Is what it comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to watch that.
It's a lot of action and it's really funny. And Paul Giamatti is really good.
Man, Paul
So-
Giamatti's great.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
So if you haven't, a lot of people didn't see it, but
Okay, shoot 'em up.
It's worth it.
It's going on the list.
Yeah.
One of these days we're going to start an offshoot podcast just called The List.
The
And just going through and reviewing these movies. So yeah, basically we get to introduce Jenna Ortega's character, who is
Right.
named Astrid, who is Lydia's daughter.
And
the dad is
the alleged
dead.
mother.
The alleged, yes, allegedly. Thank you. I needed to cover that legal base. She's at a boarding school, but they go and pick her up, bring her back to. Is it Winter River? Is that the name of the town?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're there for Richard's funeral, and from there, essentially, there's a lot of shenanigans. Beetlejuice trying to break free. And yeah, it just kind of goes off the rails from there.
Well, and Lydia is thinking that she sees Beetlejuice at almost every turn and corner, and
Right.
it's becoming stronger. And she thinks it's not real, that it's just her subconscious coming through, and she's actually taking drugs for it.
Yeah.
And then she finds out that she's not imagining things, like he is really trying to come back.
Okay, Lydia, but this is the last time I dig pills out of a trash can for you, or a toilet, or a sink. I don't actually know Justin Theroux from that much stuff, but this
I don't either.
I see his name all the time. Like, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in Bumblebee. He was Dropkick in that. He was in Joker. He was the voice of Tramp in the Lady and the Tramp remake, apparently.
Didn't see that.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi. He was the master. Oh, he was the fake master codebreaker in that. That's probably what I recognize him from. Ew, he was in Rock of Ages. Well, I don't want to look at anything else he was in then.
Who was he in Rock of Ages? Because I've seen that.
Wait, was he? He was a writer. He wasn't in it. He was a writer on it.
Oh, okay.
So-
Because I was going to say, I don't remember him being in that.
Anyway, I know you
Okay.
you didn't quite love him in this, but I thought he was a great sleazy person.
Yeah, he was. It just is all the other people in that film. He's not the standout part.
No, he's hamming it up, whereas everyone else is
Yeah.
giving a pretty good, honest performance.
And you want to talk about hamming it up? William Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe's doing it. Every single opportunity to chew scenery, that man was taking it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It was also, weirdly enough, this is the first time I've ever watched a movie. He's missing half of his skull, and I
His
still
head,
thought,
yeah.
how did they manage to make Willem Dafoe look like a handsome man?
Yeah.
He's got the scariest face in movies. How did they do this?
Watch Poor Things. It's even scarier.
I saw some clips from that, and I saw a chicken with a pig head, and went, yeah, I think I'm not going to get this one. I think I'm just not going to understand what this is about.
You will if you sit down and watch the entire thing.
Fair enough. Well, you may be overestimating my intelligence there, but
No, I'm actually giving you intelligence.
You're giving it to me?
Yeah.
What, did you pick it up at Walmart and bring it to the plastic bag? What are you talking about giving it to me?
You're a lot smarter than you give yourself credit for, Garrett.
I'm a lot smarter than I let people know. That way they don't come and ask me questions.
That's the secret. Okay,
Yes.
I got to start doing that with my staff here at the
If you
theater.
keep telling people you're an idiot, you'll be poor, but people won't bother you.
Because everybody comes up to me, question, and I go, I have no answers.
Yeah. You need to just start going, what do I know? I'm an idiot. And then eventually they'll go, well, what does he know? He's an idiot. And then no one asks you questions anymore. Let's see. There's a lot more Beetlejuice than I expected in this.
No, there was about, like, he has just about the same amount of screen time as he did in the original one.
That's what we read in the news. I didn't do any timing or
I
looking
think
it
it's
up or
just
anything,
that
but
his scenes are so amplified and emphasized.
Maybe that's what it is.
It seems like there's more of him in this movie than there actually is.
Yeah. There's not too much of him. It definitely, there's just enough, and you still, at the end, you're kind of like, oh, I would like to see a couple more shenanigans. But the stuff that they do is so great with him.
Yeah.
The family therapy scene, the first time that Justin Theroux runs into him, the spill your guts, I will never stop laughing at that.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do the work. It's so funny. And then the baby Beetlejuice coming along.
Okay, so Jessica, my wife, fell asleep.
Yeah.
And the baby thing, really, she did not like at all. And meanwhile, I loved it because it reminds me of the Peter Jackson film Dead Alive when they had the zombie baby in that.
Yep.
And it even looks like it too, which is even funnier to me. So I'm like, I wonder if Tim Burton actually had secretly a thing for that film.
I'm sure he loves Peter Jackson stuff. Yeah.
Wanted to put that in. And of course, the whole birthing scene with Jenny Ortega is just so off the wall.
Okay, we're gonna have to loop back around to that because that is a whole conversation. What is the ending to this movie? Do you want to just talk about it now?
Sure.
Okay, let's talk about the end. What was that? Because we get to the end, Beetlejuice has exploded and said, should have got married in Vegas. And there's, he's, by all, we can presume he's gone, I guess, maybe. But then at the end, it's almost like sequel bait, but they've said, we're not doing another one. Yeah,
we're not, because Tim Burton said he'd be like 100 by the time he gets around to it.
But at the very end, Beetlejuice is defeated. Lydia takes Astrid. They go to tour Dracula's castle, just like her dad had always planned to take her to do. And she meets this guy, marries him, and then she's giving birth, and Beetlejuice's inner child comes out.
Yeah.
And why does that happen? And then we realize it's a dream sequence, and Lydia's having this dream, and she wakes up, and then you see Beetlejuice sit up behind her and go, I just had the weirdest dream. And then she turns over and she wakes up again, and it's not real.
Right.
What, is Beetlejuice still around? Is that what they're trying to get? Or is it just a nightmare? I don't know.
He's always going to be part of Lydia's subconscious, I think is what it stands for.
Okay. It was such a weird thing to end on.
No, I didn't think so. Even though he's gone for now, or, they got rid of him for the time being. The character will always be a part of her, whether she likes it or not.
Okay, yeah. It just seemed like in the moment, because I was like, well, he's gone, he's dead,
Right.
and then to end it on a dream sequence felt like such a weird choice in the moment. It was very funny.
Yeah,
the fact the baby just killing the people that are in there to assist, and then crawling up the
ceiling,
the ceiling to chase a fly, biting a light bulb. All of it is just a ridiculous, out of the box. I was laughing my rear end off. I mean, I thought it was very, very funny.
Yeah,
but I was so confused. And you know what the creepiest thing in this whole movie is, though?
What?
The very creepiest thing is before the baby is born, just watching Winona Ryder smile at Astrid. That, they linger on it for so dang long, and it's such a weird, almost creepy, encouraging smile. It's such a strange.
It's almost like she impregnated her own daughter.
Right. It was so strange. It's not just me, right? They lingered on that shot of her looking for so long.
And that whole cake scene too, I thought went on. I liked it, but I thought it went on a little too long.
Yeah.
And I never understood that song in the 70s. I still don't get it.
You know what's funny? I was sitting there trying to place where I knew that song from, and I was like, but I don't know any lyrics about a cake in the rain. I realized it's because the only version of that song I know is
Summers?
Weird Al singing Jurassic Park is frightening in the dark.
Yeah.
All the dinosaurs are running wild. And I was just like, what is this from? I know this, but I don't know Cake in the Rain.
Because I don't know who did the original version that was in the film, but then there's the Donna Summers one too that's at the end of the film during the credits. That's the one that everybody knows because she made that song a big hit.
MacArthur Park, song by Richard Harris. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Not Dumbledore Richard Harris, right?
What? What are you talking about?
The the guy that played Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films was first played by Richard Harris before he died. And then Michael Gambon took on the role after Richard Harris had passed away.
Well, now that's a very good question. Was it Richard Harris?
Probably not.
I imagine it's probably a different Richard Harris.
And then he did his own singing in the movie version of Camelot.
It is the same Richard Harris.
It is.
It is the same Richard Harris. That's Dumbledore. You're right.
Yep. See this? I'm a vast of useless information.
You just there's so much in there, and none of it is of any value.
That's why I'm a GM at Grand Avenue.
And why you're on this show. So thank you, lucky stars. You know these things. So I think that. So from a character standpoint, Astrid I really liked a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, new generation, like normally they're really obnoxious with it, but Astrid's character makes total sense. The storyline about her being frustrated and being this kind of like this distance between her and her mom because her mom can't see her dad's ghost. I think that makes sense. It makes exact sense why she would be like, well, she's a hack. She's not like it's all a hoax or whatever. But they never explain why they can't see him.
I would think just because they had an emotional connection that's why she can't see him in the afterlife.
Maybe, but that's our guess. That's not ever explained in the film, and I would have liked a little, just a throwaway line.
No, I think it's best to just leave that to your own imagination.
Really interesting, because I would have loved it if he was like. If he was like, well, of course you can't see me. I'm stuck working at the desk and through eternity.
But the part that I was laughing hysterically at is when he shows up in the train station, all the little piranhas are attached
all over him. Oh my gosh, yeah, I love that this movie has so many. Like you can see how the person died, and that sticks with them. Like the fact that Beetlejuice, the stuff around his mouth and stuff, because he was poisoned, and it was like all of that,
which we didn't find out until this movie.
Right? Yeah,
that whole backstory was like really cool that they put that in there,
and the fact that it was told as a Spanish telenovela. And
it was supposed to be an Italian.
Oh, is it Italian? Okay.
Yeah. That was, so it looks like, something that's out of The Bicycle Thief, which is, the quintessential Italian film.
Yeah, yeah.
And it plays out like that. And it's just so funny to me because it makes fun of like pretentious foreign art films that they need to be made fun of. Yes. So
oh my gosh.
Great.
Dude, I laughed so hard. Sorry, I called you dude. We're not 17. My bad. Sir. I laughed so hard.
That's even worse.
All right, my bro Ham. We were watching early on in the movie, and we get to the part where Delia Dietz is now this famous artist, and she's got all this stuff. And you walk into when Lydia walks into her art gallery, the human canvas. Yeah, it's some of the most ridiculous, stupid, pretentious, self-important art you've ever seen. And I was laughing so hard because I looked over at my wife, who is a art major at getting her Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Future with her?
No, what I saw was her covering her face in embarrassment because she knows people like that, and she's just like, "Oh my god, I hate those people."
So that's why I find stuff like that amusing because it was the same people I saw in film school.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think,
get that.
She was just sitting there going, "Oh, I hope people don't ever look at me like that." And she's a ceramicist, and the stuff that she makes is genuinely very like it comes from the heart. It's not she's not making stuff for clout. Right. She wants people to recognize her work, of course, but Delia is very a self-important, bloated ego person, right. And Hannah was just like, oh my god, and I loved it so much because I saw her standing there and the projection of the birds. and I lost my mind laughing because I was just looking at it going,
You get to watch The Crow again?
Don't you ever say those words to me. But yeah, I loved all that. I love that they were poking fun at it. But it was like it was in good fun. It was like if you are an artist, you recognize that sometimes you do something you think is this deep, profound idea. Other people are going to think it's just silly.
Right.
And being able to laugh with that. And I think that Tim Burton throughout his movies kind of has that too. Like he knows like I'm doing something that I think is very clever, but I'm going to play it off as a joke because I don't want people to think I'm clever.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of a running theme throughout the stuff that he makes. And to just kind of play on that idea was very funny. I love that a giant version of her statue that like grabbed her in the first movie is at the private school. So there's like all those little call outs and things that you go, oh, I recognize that, but it's not intrusive.
Dick Cavett had the best line in the first one. It's like, Delia, you're a flake. You've always been a flake. If you want to scare somebody, do it with your artwork.
Yep, do it with your sculpture.
And she hasn't changed at all. And she's so unapologetic for it. And that's why I really like Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, she really does. I think that like Catherine O'Hara, most of her characters end up being kind of like this.
Yeah.
A disconnected person. And I don't know anything about the woman in real life. But she plays that part really well. And it is truly in this movie I was wanting more of her doing her thing because a moment that really got me is Lydia walks in and she's asking what's going on because she's gotten all these, it's about your father emergency texts from Delia. And Delia's sitting there just talking about how this artist behind her was going to spray paint her.
Yeah.
And she's like, and now he's having a little meltdown. And and she goes, your father left me. And she's like, he's divorcing you? No, what a horrible thought. He's dead. Like, it was the perfect delivery, and the idea that divorce is worse than him dying, like, everything about that was so funny to me. And it just, Catherine O'Hara just delivered it so perfectly. And then, there was a moment where, it was kind of like the moment where she looks at Beetlejuice and goes, ugh. But there was moments where she underplayed something so perfectly. And I just... A comedic performance that's understated is so hard to do. People don't realize how difficult that is to master. And man, she's got it in spades. And I really appreciated that.
She's really good in all those Christopher Guest, like fake documentary movies that he does. Mm-hmm. And I always liked Best in Show. The dog show one.
Yes.
And she's supposed to be married to Eugene Levy in that. And she's had like sex with everybody that they've come in contact with. And she always plays it off too. And like, it's really funny to watch her in that movie.
And then they did multiple seasons of Schitt's Creek together after that.
Yeah. Which my wife has seen all that. I think I've only watched like one season of that, but that's a good show too.
I didn't really get into it, but I
liked it.
Like I know there's moments I've seen from her like that's really funny, but like overall there's just enough about the show that I'm like I just don't want to watch this. but that's why I'm no fun at parties. Oh. So okay, let's talk about the visual and practical effects because and then I after that I think I want to touch on some of the story stuff that where intertwining could have happened better.
Okay.
But the one of the things that brought me immense amounts of joy was when when the Dolores sucks someone's soul out. At the very end, they curl up like an accordion.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's a practical thing that they've done. And I loved that so much because one, it was funny. It's goofy. It's this awful thing, having your soul stolen by another person. But it just ends with...
Yeah, and it's even better that Dan DeVito was the first victim because he was one of the producers of the original film.
That's right. Yeah, he was.
So they gave him a cameo of this and then killed him off as soon as they brought him in.
Yeah. The moment I saw his silhouette in the hallway, I was like, that's Danny DeVito.
Yeah. Well, and you heard the voice. Like, it's very hard to not mistake that.
Yeah, yeah. And Hannah didn't recognize him because she was too caught up in the fact that he was drinking drain cleaner. And and he's like, she was like, who is this guy with green skin? Is that Danny DeVito?
Because long way away from Taxi.
A little bit. So yeah, I thought that those effects of people dying or getting dismembered, and okay, so a lot of the time when it comes to effects in movies, people will just go nuts over any practical effects over visual effects. And this is a point of passion for me that I love.
Okay.
Because a lot of visual effects, and the difference is VFX is computer generated, special effects is on set.
Right.
Practical effects. And VFX is best used when it augments, not replaces, a practical effect. So let me give you a good example for this.
Okay.
In old movies, when someone spins their head all the way around, you would switch to a dummy for the shot, right? So
right,
you
just
would,
like they did in The Exorcist.
exactly. Yeah. So you would maybe have the actor start doing the move, and then you would cut to a shot from the side, and their head spins all the way around. Then you cut back to the front, and they turn their head to the other way now and finish the move.
Right.
But you'd have to do it in a couple of shots, or you'd have to do like a crossfade that doesn't quite sell it, and you can tell when it switches.
Yeah.
In this movie, they do the same thing. Michael Keaton starts doing the move, and then his head spins all the way around, but they replace it with a double in between, and they do it seamlessly. It's still his head.
Right.
They've just melded it in perfectly and mixed it and composited, that's the right word, composited it together in a way that completely sells it and feels still practical. And that's one of those things that I love. I'm very certain, like, when they do the accordion thing, like there's wires and stuff that have to be hidden. That's a visual effect to remove those things.
It was so sad when Bob got soul sucked
poor
out.
Bob.
And I love that scene too.
And I love that they put in loving memory of Bob, rest in peace, 1357 to 2024. The fact that you feel an emotional connection to Bob,
to a secondary character that's not even that important.
That is the mark of someone really caring about what they're doing and trying to endear you to someone and trying to give them just enough time to shine. And I love Bob. Bob is great. I love Wolf. Was it Wolf Jackson? What's Willem Dafoe's character's name? Wolf Jackson.
Yeah.
He's. I love the running gag of his secretary bringing him coffee so that he can squash it dramatically and then throw it on a pile. Like he's not even drinking it. But yeah, there's the effect on Willem Dafoe. Actually, that's something to talk about. It was a live grenade. That's how he died in a movie. He's like, how was I supposed to know it was a live grenade?
Yeah.
And part of his head is missing, but they don't do a whole CG thing. They put a piece of plaster on the side of his head.
Right.
It's completely practical. You can tell it's fake, but it works so perfectly with the tone of the film. And if this was supposed to be a bit more spooky, having it be more glistening and kind of seeing the brain pulse.
But it's not going for scare factors or like shock tactics. It's supposed to be silly.
He's dead, and if we did this in the 80s, this is how we'd do it. And it's funny because of that. And I think that Tim Burton did a great job of understanding the things that would be funny if you left it not real. Right. And then the things that needed to have a little bit more augmentation with stuff that you could not do practically. For instance, Richard's character is missing half of his body because a shark. Because a shark ate half of him.
I kind of got into trouble last night too because, I came in early yesterday morning and I purposely stayed I really wanted to start that up as soon as I came into work yesterday morning and watch it, but I didn't. And
I'm very proud of you for that self-control.
Thank you. And so was my wife.
When I report to your parole officer, he's going to be very happy to hear it too.
Well, that's my wife. So
right.
And then when that whole scene's going down with the stop motion animation and the plane crashes, and I'm like, the plane crash didn't kill him. I'm like, he got eaten by a shark. Sure enough, the shark pops out, and my wife looks at me like, did you lie to me that you didn't? I'm like, no, because I guess Tim Burton and I have the same kind of thought pattern when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's the first, the plane crash didn't kill him. A shark ate him. And sure enough, that's.
So it's like, he died in a plane crash? Oh, no. No, he crashed in the ocean. He drowned? No. A shark came and bit him in half. Hannah was looking at me when it switched to that stop motion stuff. She was like, what is this movie? And I was just like, it's Tim Burton, don't ask questions.
Right. This is exactly what he does.
And I think that it also is a great way to get around having that character still in the movie, but getting around the fact that the actor who played him is a child molester. So,
well, and then his gravestone is a shark fin.
I didn't notice that until she was sitting there with the asps, and I looked at it, and I for some reason it didn't register, and then I saw it, and I started giggling. I turned to Hannah, I was like, "It's a shark fin." She goes, oh, "It is." Like all of those little details, man. Like if you're not really paying attention, there's lots of funny things you'll miss. That one was an obvious one that I missed because I'm stupid. So full disclosure, I'm an idiot.
When the asps show up though, and I'm like, those snakes are like horribly poisonous. They're from Egypt, and I'm like, oh, they're defanged. I'm like,
they're not.
Something that's not going to go right.
This is a movie that so you know how in The Crow we talked about Chekhov's gun, and how the filmmakers should have shot everyone who was part of writing it. I'm not advocating violence. I'm advocating justice. No, but this movie does not set something up without paying it off, I think.
Right.
I think it really does a lot of work to make sure that if we talk about something and it's brought up and brought to your attention, that pays off later.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's present in pretty much every storyline, and it's good writing. It's good writing.
And they don't go to the multi-universe cop out.
Yes.
Which
there's no.
I'm sure Tim Burton hates that kind of stuff too, or at least I hope he does.
I hope so too. As soon as the multiverse came into Marvel, I checked out. Like it wasn't even a choice. I was just like, I don't want to deal with this. Because one, it's confusing. Two, it leaves too many opportunities to cheap out of a death or something.
And we've talked about this before on the show that it's just an excuse for bad writing.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
The exception being, I guess, Deadpool and Wolverine, because they know that that's what it is, and so they're
unapologetic about it. Right.
Right. Yeah. They're in on the fact that it's stupid.
Yeah.
Which you can't be in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But yeah, I checked out of that, and I think that this movie avoids all of those sequel pitfalls. I really do. Yeah. Like it's got all the stuff that you love from the first one, but it's chock full of new ideas. It's got so many funny gags that are like kind of a callback, but not the same joke.
Right.
Because they could have just rehashed a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And the fact that this has stakes for everyone at all points during the story and stuff really is just like satisfying. Mm-hmm. It's satisfying to watch and see it unfold, with a small exception.
Okay.
Do you have any exceptions to that you would say? Like, is there anything that you would say is not quite satisfying?
No.
From my perspective? Okay. So
not that I can think of.
My wife and I have a slightly different opinion.
Okay.
I am not complaining. I loved this movie.
Okay.
But I have an idea. This is not a criticism. It is an idea. I think that the storylines between Beetlejuice's ex-wife and Astrid's story could have intertwined towards the end a little bit better. And the reason I say this is because you want to set up that Astrid is really the big bad of the whole thing. Beetlejuice is a bad, but he's kind of like, he's a not so benevolent trickster, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so he's got his own motives. That's going on. We set up that Dolores wants to get Beetlejuice because, as far as she's concerned, he owes her.
He got away from her,
right? And she will not have that happen,
right?
And then you have Jenna Ortega's character Astrid, who is trying. She just wants to see her dad again, and she gets tricked by this guy into going with him into the afterlife and exchanging her soul for his. And what happens in the movie is when he goes to get his passport stamped to get back to the real world and finish off the transition of her soul to him,
right?
Beetlejuice is there and stamps it with S out of luck.
Yeah,
and he just gets sent right down to hell, and it's very funny.
Yeah,
and I would not want to lose the joke, but I do think from a story perspective, if when Dolores had found Beetlejuice's office, and she sees the picture of Lydia, like if there was somehow some way that she knew that Astrid was connected to Lydia and that was a way to get to Beetlejuice, I think that could have allowed them to kind of mix this in where maybe instead of it being Beetlejuice that stops Jeremy, I think is his name, stops him from getting her soul, if instead Astrid thinks she's going to be saved by this woman who takes Jeremy and stops him somehow. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, oh, thank you so much. And she just turns and grabs him and goes, where is Beetlejuice? And that kind of, propels that forward a little bit. I think that's something that could have allowed them to intertwine those so that when he dies, it's not just, and that one's resolved. It's more of, okay, that's resolved, but now out of the frying pan into the fire. Because now there's this bigger bad, this bigger threat that's going to be an issue for all of them.
See, and I just didn't think there was a need to intertwine those characters. I think with the, and they didn't want to make this really long either, so just kind of ending things and then moving on to the next subplot was a good idea.
Well, I think you could have done it without making it longer, though. Because if Beetlejuice had like the picture of like everyone at the funeral or whatever in a newspaper, because he gets the news, right?
Yeah.
So if he had that and Dolores sees the picture of Lydia and smashes it, while she's smashing it, she sees the picture of all three of them, like Astrid and Lydia at the funeral, whatever, and she recognizes her. And then she leaves from there. While she's wandering around aimlessly, because she just wanders around a lot in a lot of shots, and that's all she's doing. She could have seen Astrid and then followed her. And I don't think that would have added more than 30 seconds to the runtime.
Okay.
So that was just a thought. Hannah and I both felt like we wanted that to affect the story a little bit more.
It just didn't bother me.
It's not necessarily that it bothered me. It was just one thing that I probably, if I had been writing it, would have thought, like, I need these two to intersect in some way so that it builds that stake for this character and brings the other characters involved with it. And so does that mean I think that, Ass Out of Luck is pretty funny as a stamp.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was just a thought I had.
And then, he's got the F word and then drops him straight into hell.
I'm going to... So he doesn't say it... Does he say the F word there? Is that why they did it the second time?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to... This is my favorite part of the movie. My finger's on the button. I'm ready for this. I'm going to direct quote it. They are at the church at the end, and his ex-wife shows up, and he turns around, and Beetlejuice goes, "What the And they actually do that in the movie? They beep it, and I lost my mind. That is, I love a beep. I love a beep, and to have it happen in the climax, in the middle of all of this stuff going on.
Because I think I was laughing harder at you than I was the movie.
Oh my gosh. It's my favorite thing to do. Every time I hear someone bleep out a it's the best moment of my life. I don't know why.
Yeah, you should even do it to me even when I'm not like using any kind of
Yeah, exactly.
Case in point.
I'm going to a different page now. I don't have access to the button anymore. That button's gone.
Good.
It's back. Just kidding. But yeah, that was my favorite moment in the whole movie because the balls to put a censor beep in a film and break the fourth wall only kind of at that point. I think there's a couple times where Beetlejuice looks into camera. But they don't do a whole lot of fourth wall breaking.
Yeah.
But in that moment, they do it. They keep the moment, and they made it funnier by bleeping it.
Well, because that scene in the trailer, they cut it right when he says F, and you think that it's going to be the whole thing when the film comes out, and they can't do that for the trailer,
right?
But when that scene showed up, and I'm like. And they bleep it. I'm like,
man, sometimes a bleep is so much funnier than anything else you can say. And I want to.
And that whole trick with like the entire influencer audience being sucked back into their cell phones.
I was wondering if they were going to do any like face stretching stuff because they don't do it for the rest of the movie. But that scene, you get to see kind of a digital version of the effect that they did in the original where they stretch their faces out. And, it's a callback, but it's a completely different thing.
Right.
And that's another example of one of those things.
It's modernized and brought up to the current times that we're living in. So yeah. Also, because I kind of wish that would happen to some people.
Seeing influencers get sucked into their phone and die, fantastic.
Because Jessica and I watched this crazy documentary about some bald influencer guy, Alex. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's this guy in Britain that's a real piece of work.
Oh, good.
And
at least he's not here.
No, and what he was up to, and I just can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if this is what influencers do, count me out.
Man, influencers are the fact that you're calling yourself an influencer. It's like, well,
pretentious.
That's a bit pretentious, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to circle back real quick to the kind of the in camera effects versus visual effects stuff, Dolores putting herself back together at the beginning of the movie is basically all visual effects work.
Right.
You cannot do that really without a computer in the way that they did it, because the way that she moves when she's disconnected from her body is natural. It's not like we have a dummy and we're wiggling it around, which would have been funny in its own right. But I think doing it the way that they did and choosing to use VFX for that, and I'm not sure if these are 3D models that they animated by hand or if this is like they, mask off parts of her and have her do the movement.
They might have the 3D models, because that's Tim Burton likes to use that a lot too.
I think that the legs probably were. The one that I wasn't sure about was when she gets her, well, let's just say it, her boobs and her butt back.
Yeah.
That kind of like wiggles on the butt cheeks backwards. And it looked like they probably could have had her sit on the floor and do that, and then just masked out the part that they want and added in a 3D representation of the cut off part. So you can do that with CG. You can mix an actual physical element with a CG cutoff. So like that's what they would have done for Richard's character. So for instance, and it's easier to show than to tell, but I'll make this short. They would have the man stand there. They would have him wear green at the part that they're going to cut him off. Then they cut him off and they put a clean plate behind him. That's your background, so it comes back so you can see through him, right?
Right.
And then what they would do is motion track the 3D model of the top part that has the cutout to the actual person's movement. So you have the computer track that, and then you go in and kind of fix it by hand. It's very time consuming and it sucks to do. But then you can have that thing move just like the person's body would have in that environment. Add the lighting to it, and then you can see through him where he wasn't, even though the actor is standing there as a full person. So you can do that, and that means that there's probably bits and pieces of both of a full 3D model on its own. Like the finger crawling, you wouldn't do that necessarily, I don't think, because the back end stays on the ground. So the part that would connect to the knuckle is on the ground the whole time it's crawling. That's very difficult to do with the rest of your hand actually physically there. So that's something I would use a 3D model for. But her wiggling back on her butt cheeks, that I would probably have her do in real life and then cut off the part I don't want.
Right.
And so that I think it could be all CG. It could be. If it is, it's very, very, very good. And that is one of those moments where I look at it and I go, that is a mix of visual effects and practical effects marrying to make something that blows your mind and looks so cool and so good.
Right.
And you totally buy it. And it sets her up as this, not a goofy villain who's made together of mannequin parts, but instead a threat. Right. And so story-wise, it serves because the VFX serves the story. I'm sorry, I love movies.
Because it's more than like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas that, she's stitched together and she's a rag doll pretty much. And, which Catherine O'Hara does her voice in Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's right.
And, she takes herself apart to get out of situations. Yeah. And this is the almost exact opposite of that. And it's cool to see. You can kind of tell where Tim Burton got it from Nightmare.
And kind of playing with that same idea, but doing his own little twist on it. Yeah,
she's like the ultimate villain in this film, even though she's not in it a whole lot, but, she's definitely driven in her purpose. But I just thought of this while we were talking about that. So with Jeremy's character being called Jeremy, that's got to be, is that right that his character was Jeremy?
Yep. Okay. Played by Arthur Conti. Really well played as well.
So is that kind of a play on the whole thing since he was into like 90s music and the Pearl Jam song? Is that how he got
it might be. Yeah.
Because I would think Tim Burton would be kind of clever like that to do
for
that.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
well, and like he didn't write the script on this. He directed it, but I think he might have. I don't think he has a story credit, but he probably, was
he had influence on it. Yeah. That's for sure.
So yeah, the writers also could have come up with that. I don't know if it's hard to tell what's the director's fault versus what's not. I mean, what should be accredited to the director? I'll tell you what's the director's fault is Borderlands. And The Crow. But yeah, I think that you're probably onto something there. That does seem like they would have done that on purpose.
And it was really cool. Little things like that I noticed too, that it's cool to see in that room. Like they had one of the bands I liked around that time too was a band called Morphine, and it's just made up of saxophone, bass guitar, and drum.
Interesting.
Unfortunately the lead singer for that and bass player had a heart attack and died on stage,
Oh,
like at the height of
geez.
their popularity. The guy's name was Mark Sandman, and they actually had
That's
a more
real name. That's
Yeah.
his real name.
Yeah.
That's his legal name.
Probably not his
He
legal
came from
name, but
Mr. and
that's-
Mrs. Sandman. I'm sorry, I got caught up on the wrong detail. Continue.
But seeing that there was actually a morphine poster in his room was really cool to me.
Yeah,
But
like
it's-
there's a lot of attention to detail to things
Yeah.
like that. We're going like, oh, if this person is kind of part of this culture, what would they really, like even the pretentious art stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure they pulled from actual art exhibitions that have been done.
well, the Warhol. A
Yeah,
lot of
that's
that
right.
is very just reminiscent of Warhol. If Warhol had lived, this is probably the avenue he would have gone down.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
He definitely would have had someone from Paris spray paint him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all of that stuff. And I also want to talk about Jeremy's storyline. So basically he killed his parents and then he died
Yeah.
during the police standoff. And but when
Slipped and fell.
he slipped out of the treehouse. When Astrid meets him, it is genuinely, I think, the best meet cute sort of thing I have ever seen.
Because you didn't see that coming when they revealed that he's a ghost. He doesn't exist.
He's so charming and like that awkward teenager
Yeah.
kind of charming, and they get along really well, and their conversation, fantastic acting.
Yeah.
Fantastic acting. And it's very natural. It feels like teenagers talking like teenagers. And so watching that, I think that's why I didn't see it coming that he was a ghost, was because they do such a good job of making you kind of get invested in their relationship because it's so well done.
The only time I kind of had a glimmer that something was wrong with that was when he was introducing his parents.
Right. Yeah,
And
I was
you
like, this is
didn't
weird.
see them
Yeah.
fully. Like you saw silhouettes and stuff, and you saw like the back of the dad's head and everything, watching TV and drinking beer. And it just goes very quickly, but there's something amiss.
Right.
But
yeah.
you're not sure. And I wasn't even sure if I was just overthinking it.
Well, and I think I didn't clue into it because I was just like, yeah, that's the kind of throwaway thing Tim Burton would do to
Yeah.
get to what he actually wants to be doing. Like
then-
it's weird, so whatever.
Right.
And I think he plays on that a little bit and is like, yeah, you wouldn't expect this because it's exactly what you'd expect.
Right.
Gotcha. And so, but I loved, also I wanted to point out something. I don't know if you noticed this, but it was something that kind of stood out to me. I think that during the meet cute, when they first meet, and then during the kiss and that they share in his bedroom, those shots, they use different lenses. The bokeh is completely different in those shots, and the whole effect is a lot more dreamy because it's supposed to be this kind of romantic thing. And so the bokeh and the way that everything falls out of focus and the sharpness of the image overall actually drops because they're like vintage lenses in those shots. And it
I didn't notice that.
It feels different. Like most people wouldn't clue in on going, that's a different lens set. But the bokeh, the way that the lights kind of like will scatter, like early on you can see above the model in the attic, all the little bare light bulbs have this kind of like star pattern coming off of them. And that's a bokeh ball. It's a diffraction element is what we would call it in a lens. And so diffraction may be the wrong word. I'm trying to sound smart, but I'm not. So don't ask me questions. But, there's that. But then when you see lights in the background, the way that they fall out of focus and the way that they kind of starburst and everything is different with those lenses. Okay. And it feels different. It feels more fantastical and vintage and like this beautiful moment sort of thing. And then when she falls, we're back to the other lens set, back to reality. Back to understanding the truth of what we're seeing.
Okay.
And so it's like, it's this interesting, and that's, again, like I said, this is one of the things I love about movies and I'm really nerdy about.
Yeah.
Is like lenses are so important to the look of a film. And I felt it before I noticed it. And that's one of the things that I love about movies is that you can use a different lens and people will they're not going to clue into it while they're watching it, but they'll feel it.
Right. Well, Poor Things is pretty obvious about that because
I watched someone talk about the cinematography, and boy, those lenses, the VFX artists on that having to adjust all of their effects to different lenses, one shot to the next.
Fisheye lenses are rarely used anymore. Like I couldn't tell you the last time like somebody actually used that. And Poor Things uses it quite a bit.
They're using like a 9mm super fisheye lens. It's crazy, yeah.
But it's done for specific reasons. Mm-hmm. It's not just for, nobody does this, so I'm going to do it. There's specific reasons and techniques that they're doing that to set the tone in the mood, and even going from black and white to color in that film too. It all tells this story too visually as well as what's unfolding before you.
Yeah.
And it's really that, that's hard not to notice because a fisheye lens is very noticeable.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not.
It's definitely more subtle than that for sure.
Right.
And I think that, but I think that it is an effect that the audience, they won't put their finger on it, but they'll feel it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that I was watching. I was just like, oh, that's clever. That's a clever little thing to go, oh, I'm going to, and maybe I'm wrong. I didn't look at the back.
And that's where I think Tim Burton is he's very underrated as a filmmaker. Yeah. He makes these goofy movies. Yeah. He makes Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice and, Edward Scissorhands. But there's all techniques to these things that make him who he is.
Right. Yeah.
And that I think a lot of people just write him off.
And I've been guilty of that. And I would like to publicly apologize to someone who will never care what I think. But
that's not true. I care what you think.
No, I'm apologizing to Tim. I don't care what you think. But just kidding. But yeah, no, I fell in love again. Like every now and then I see a movie where I just go, man, I love the craft of fell in love.
And we saw that with
movies
Horizons with that, but this one's actually a little bit, because at least the story makes sense.
The story makes sense. It's not 4 hours long, and I will actually be able to see the end of the story because it already happened and is not being held hostage by a budget that will never materialize.
Or a studio.
Yeah. Although I've heard on good authority that it's your fault that Horizons Part 2 is not coming out. Is that true?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll call that guy back.
I got accused of that. I can't believe
that's a deep cut joke for our longtime listeners.
It's funny that people think I have that much clout that I can actually make that happen. And no, I run a 6-screen theater.
You look like a respectable man, Andy. It's your own fault.
Looks are deceiving.
Get an eye patch, then people won't. They'll be too afraid to approach you. There's so many funny moments in this that it's hard. Like I don't want to spoil a bunch of stuff. But
let's not give the whole film.
Watch the movie. The only line that I didn't like was, "I swear the afterlife is so random." I was like, "Is that from 2004?" And then I moved on and never thought about it again. The church scene. Okay, so the finale is the part that you felt went on a little too long.
Just the part with the MacArthur Park song and the cake, and that went on just a little bit, like 3 minutes longer than I thought it should have.
Yeah, and the whole scene is its own thing, but it's also a callback to throwing your voice and stuff from the first one.
Right.
But it was like that is exactly how Beetlejuice would keep people in line, is doing this whole thing and making a joke out of it. But yeah, I get what you're saying about it feeling a little long. I don't know. It didn't bother me, but I did notice I was like, normally this would be over by now.
Right.
But at the same time, there was enough stuff happening, and then cutting outside to Wolf Jackson and all the police coming, and it's like, it's great. It switches back and forth, and everyone doing the dance number and stuff. I was still having a good time.
And then Book 'em Dano.
Book 'em Dano. Yeah, all of that stuff was good. I love that the sandworms were kept stop motion, or at the very least, they look like they're stop motion. I actually don't know if that's CGI or not. And
I think it's still stop motion.
I want to say it probably is, but it looks even better than the stuff from the first one. Like if it's not CGI, it is some of the most top-notch physical stop motion animation I've ever seen in my life.
And man, they really used the Handbook of the Recently Deceased a lot more than they did in the original one too.
Yeah, and I think that's clever because you can who knows what's in that book.
Right.
The fact that, and I also noticed when Jenna Ortega Astrid grabs it during that thing, she's opening it and she sees the sandworm thing, and you see it was actually earlier in the movie. She sees the sandworms and the draw a door to get the sandworm.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's going to come back, isn't it?
Yep.
There's no way they're just showing us that as a joke, but then it comes back and is actually a major part of resolving the conflict. And it's just a 2-second
I figured
shot.
it had to pop up somewhere because the sandworms weren't in the film a whole lot.
Right, before that.
I figured they had to come out some point in this film because they were in the original one just a little bit, but
that, and we see them in the trailer, so that kind of like gears you up for it. There was a line that was changed from the trailer where
Yes.
Astrid says in the trailer, it was something along the lines of when you all have 3 kids and you're banging your Pilates instructor or something like that.
They changed that for them. And I was like, did Pilates... Jessica said this to me too, and I kind of agreed with them. I'm like, did Pilates get pissed off at that and they had to change it?
Is Big Pilates interfering with our comedy movies?
Because that
Is
scene
Pilates
in the
a brand
trailers...
name? Is it a brand name?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
So
I thought it was just a general term.
They might have had a little bit of a problem with that. I think they should have kept it, though.
I think the original, the line from the trailer is funnier.
It is.
And this one's just like when you're all... I don't even remember what she said. It was
like divorcing on your second wife and something, or second husband, and you have kids, and it's not as effective.
It wasn't as effective. It wasn't as biting, and I wonder. I do wonder partially if they got another take of that because they went, that seems a little too much like Wednesday. I wonder if it was that.
No, because it's still. I hope not, because it still fits her character.
It does. Yeah.
You know, she's supposed to be angry and pissed off and hate everybody around her, especially at this private school that she has to go to because she has no other choice. And so the angst has to be there, and it needs to be a little bit more scathing, in my opinion. But
I would have liked a better line there.
Yeah. So I wonder if when that comes on home video, if we'll see that change or if that'll be the same.
The alternate cut that just she turns around and goes, all right, fine, that's funny. But when you're and I'm sitting on top of and you have 3 of those in your ear, we'll see who has the last laugh. I don't know. But it's actually really hard to do that and not know what you're going to say and like think of the funny thing to lead into a bleep. That's really difficult. So just get a pat on the back for myself here.
Don't break your arm doing it.
Well, if I don't, you will. You'll break my arm while I do it.
No, because then I got to do the podcast by myself.
I don't talk with my hands. Actually, I do kind of. I'm sort of Italian.
Well, I do. No, I'm the one that does that because I am Italian. That's why I thought the Italian movie thing in this movie is so funny.
This is the only movie I've ever looked at and thought, keep that sex scene in it. That was worth it because they don't show anything. It's all shadow work and stuff, and but it's really funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Overall, is there anything else you want to mention from this one?
No.
Man, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't been convinced by now, it's a love letter to film making and the little tricks that you would do back in the 80s. Even the opening logo for the Greffen Corp or whatever, like they don't exist anymore.
No.
That's just from the first one, and they're like, hey, remember? And like normally nostalgia stuff like that is annoying, but it's not in this movie for me at all. So real good. Mm-hmm. Good job, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we could talk about news. Beetlejuice got $12 million in Thursday box office previews, which is not a small number. For Thursday night, that's pretty darn good.
Well, considering we're at really high school football season.
Yes.
And looking at the numbers for us today, too, you know, the 645 was at 60 the last time I checked.
Oh, really?
And the 715 was going to 100.
All right, yeah.
And I'm like, and that's even contending with Friday Night Football here in Belton, Texas. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's amazing.
That's the equivalent.
That's really good.
That's the equivalent of people leaving church to go see Passion of the Christ 2: Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, it's doing really, really well.
Yeah, and it doesn't have any competition either.
It doesn't. But I think even if it did, it would still be kicking down doors. I mean, it is. All the previews have been very positive, so word of mouth on this is great right now.
Yeah, and I really, when I first heard the release date and everything on this, I'm like, beginning of September. Really, what were they thinking? But I'm like, nope, that was perfect. They got it right.
It was a smart choice. They're not in competition with any other big things.
No.
The Deadpool and Wolverine stuff has died down. Although it's still here, so it's still doing okay.
Here.
Right?
It's doing okay. Yeah. It's not like it's in a small theater now.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But it's been out for over a month now, so I mean, it's...
Well, we finally lost Twisters this week.
Oh, did you really?
Yes.
Congratulations, Andy. I know that you were just waiting for that. What's worse, the wait for Beetlejuice, or the wait for Twisters to leave?
The wait for Twisters to leave.
What do you think about this? Melissa McCarthy and Clive Owen are set to star in a series based on the murder of John Benet Ramsey.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
It's Paramount Plus series.
So that's a mark of excellence.
It's weird that that's a Paramount Plus series because Paramount TV was shut down. All of Paramount TV gone. Everyone lost their jobs.
But CBS is behind Paramount Plus and
so
Viacom.
I think this is
that's why it's Paramount Plus does so well.
Yeah, apparently Paramount Global CEO, co-CEO, and president and CEO of Showtime and MTV Entertainment Studios said
that's pretty much Viacom.
Said Melissa McCarthy and Clive Owen are an extraordinary duo to delve into this tragic story that has cast a long, haunting shadow over American culture for nearly 3 decades. Now, you actually have said that Melissa McCarthy can act when she wants to.
She can.
So at first I saw this one. That's going to be weird. What's she going to do? Oh, there we go. My daughter's dead. Give me cocaine. But yeah, it actually might be good.
But the flip side of that coin is Clive Owen, man. How far has your career fallen?
When's the last time you saw Clive Owen in something?
Oh, man. That's a good question.
Because he was in Children of Men, right? Which is like one of the most highly lauded movies of all time.
And it's that one director that did The Revenant and
I know his name, but I need it now, so it's gone.
Yeah,
Dadgummit.
And he's done some good films. The Revenant being probably the most notable. But that was one Alfonso Cuarón.
That's who it is. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So Children of Men was one of his earlier films, and it's a horribly depressing film, but it's really good. And yeah, Clive Owen's good in that. The International was another one that he was good in, and he was at one point thought to be the next contender for James Bond.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
His last film role was in 2020, The Romantic Guide to Lost Places. Never heard of it.
No.
It's with Jasmine Trinica. Don't know who that is.
Just a British film then? Or?
Yes, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Italian-American drama. Then he was in the Informer, which is a movie that, get this, stars Joel Kinnaman, so no one saw it. The Song of Names, don't know what that is. Oh, God, He was in Gemini Man.
I never saw that.
No one did. Anyway.
Yeah, because what? But then I don't know if this is true or not. The thing that I keep seeing on the internet is Will Smith is supposed to be playing the live action Popeye.
What? Hold on, I was looking for news and you broke my brain. I actually that broke me. What?
Yeah, that was. And I see it on Facebook, so I don't really regard him as like a credible news source. But right. I saw it like 3 times in a row, which really kind of makes me wonder about that. Is because I know Universal, they have pretty much hinted that they are doing a live action Popeye, and that hasn't been tackled since the Robin Williams ones that Robert Altman directed back in the 80s. And it's kind of a musical. It's not a horrible film, but it's really sad now that Shelley Duvall has passed away from that. And
I've heard
Williams
people lambasted it at the time, but
it's actually not as bad as everybody made it out to be. But yeah, the thing I saw is like Will Smith is going to be Popeye, and I'm like, really?
This has been disproven according to Yahoo News in the UK as of June 2024. So no, he will not be. Someone was just having fun with posters and jokes.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Woo! Dodged a bullet there. Megalopolis re-released their new trailer without the fake movie quotes. So we talked about this in real life, but not on pod.
We did.
Megalopolis, I don't know how it happened, but they used generated critics quotes in the trailer. I think they were probably supposed to be placeholders, but then they just posted that version.
Right.
And so they had to take the whole trailer down, apologize for using fake quotes, and then and now they've reposted the Megalopolis trailer without them. And that's a very, very silly. Like, it'd be one thing if they released a trailer and it said placeholder quote. You could go, okay, that makes sense. Why are your placeholders lies? Just put placeholder. Like, when I send people graphics for stuff, I don't put in there lie that someone said.
Yeah.
Like, I just put in there word that is the right length, and it obviously has nothing to do with it. I'm like, this is for you to approve of the styling, and then I'll change the word.
So that might be another, because we've passed on that film for the end of the month.
That's right.
And I did for a couple of reasons. It looks bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
That's an understatement. And has Coppola has the beginning of Alzheimer's like while making this? It seems that way because it's been at least like 30 years since he's made a film.
I can't speculate on that because I don't have Aya to dig into other people's personal medical history.
It's a bad joke. I'm sorry.
No, I was joking. I was just talking about the scariness of AI. Let's not forget the impending doom of our entire society.
So here's a question. Is that when we go out and pay again to go see to do for the podcast?
Maybe. Is there anything else happening that weekend?
Wild Robot.
Kids' movies are so hard to review for us.
I know. They are.
Megalopolis is more interesting to me.
And it's gonna be easy to rip that apart, I think.
Do we do a double feature?
Well,
and just see
Wild Robot is short. It's an hour and a half.
I think maybe we do a double feature because then we can talk about the movie that parents will want to take their kids to.
Megalopolis is long.
And then we can just laugh at that one.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're going to be laughing at the Wild Robot.
Well, I think we will.
Well, maybe. But maybe because it wants us to. Megalopolis is a very different story.
Yeah, they're really pushing the IMAX for that thing too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like large screen formats. Yeah, that's a big deal for that movie. And
but all that's near is a Limax, so I don't know if we can see that.
So do you know who the studio is behind that?
No.
Lionsgate. So another bomb to add to their collection for
maybe at the end of this year.
Crow. And then a movie we're passing on next week too, Killer's Game.
Oh, that movie looks bad. I'm sorry. Dave Bautista is a train wreck as an actor in that movie. The whole trailer, I'm just like, this sucks.
I've been invited by Lionsgate to go see it in Austin on Tuesday.
Are you going to go?
Yeah.
I need to hear how bad it is because the trailer makes it look like an embarrassment.
It looks like John Wick.
It's like if John Wick was made by an angsty teenager who thought cursing was cool. Yeah. It's like that. And also your lead character. And look, Dave Bautista's done some stuff that I like. But in this movie, he's the most bland action man, like in the trailer at least.
Yeah.
It looks so incredibly bad.
Well, those My Spy films that are on Amazon too.
Oh. The Minecraft trailer is out. Did you see this?
Yeah. And I didn't have it in our system to put it on Beetlejuice. So, but I saw it online and just kind of... What?
It looks so bad, but
it's probably going to do a boatload of money.
Yeah, probably, but I can't imagine. Like, I feel like I need to see it to see if I'm wrong, but I don't know how you make that movie and it work.
And Jason Momoa just looks so.
He's like the cool mom, like it's such a weird look. Like, why? Why is he dressed up in a Pepto-Bismol promotional suit with, my aunt's haircut? What is that?
I've never played the game either, so I don't know a whole lot about it. But like the cubist animals and stuff in that too, just like
they look really disturbing being real. They're in that uncanny valley,
So I don't know what looks worse, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or this.
This looks worse to me, honestly, because like. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I think, is going to be, at the very least, it's earnest about being the sort of trite crap that it is.
You hit the nail right in the head with that.
But Minecraft is like, we're trying to be fun about it, but like, just don't do this. Just don't do it. Someone was going to because Minecraft is an incredibly successful franchise that pulls in more money than anything else aside from like... freaking Pokemon.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
And it's so incredibly popular. So this was going to happen. But like, what the heck is this?
And you gave it to Jack Black.
I think people are off Jack Black for the year.
Oh, but you know who the director of this is?
No.
Jared Hess.
Okay, maybe then. But like, I don't like most of what Jared Hess does,
right.
Honestly.
So I'm like, they gave this to him?
Because he did he do
Napoleon
Masterminds?
Dynamite.
He did Masterminds, which I actually have a little bit. I laugh
at the Zach
a little bit.
Galifianakis one.
Yeah, the one where they. But I love that story.
Okay,
because it's such a stupid story, and there is just enough like Jason Sudeikis chewing scenery in it and stuff where it's like it's got some funny moments.
And then,
but I hate Nacho Libre. I hate the Napoleon Dynamite. I like sometimes you wear stretchy pants, but Napoleon Dynamite was one of the most, for me, And I'm actually not making fun of you for liking this one because people love this movie. Unlike Suicide Squad, which you should be shamed for. But Napoleon Dynamite, you put that finger away, sir. Napoleon Dynamite, what for me was a incredibly tedious viewing experience.
Meanwhile, it's a short movie.
I know, but it felt like it was 900 hours long to me.
No,
those
it's
two
not
might
my
have been
favorite
connected.
movie. I find it amusing just because it's rather odd.
Yeah, I mean it is that, and
But then
I think it culturally was it was part of the zeitgeist for a long time, and
Right.
it was playing on feelings and stuff that were very of the time it was made,
Right.
And so, but I didn't see it till years later,
And it's
so I
also
missed that.
it's also like Revenge of the Nerds without being Revenge of the Nerds. So I'm sure Jermaine Dupri is in the Minecraft movie too. So which comes to another thing. One of the Jared Hess's films that he made that's an absolute worst like waste of time ever is Gentlemen Broncos. And it's Jermaine Dupri is in that as a washed up science fiction writer that ends up stealing a kid's book that he wrote for like some literary class and ends up like being this huge success and does not give this kid credit for it. And it's an awful waste of time. And it's about as long as Napoleon Dynamite is. That one seems tedious. That goes on forever.
I see Jermaine Clement listed
Clement,
here.
yes.
It is Jermaine Clement.
Yes,
Okay.
Clement. Sorry, I got the name wrong.
Yeah, from Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that I like.
I do too. Also, What We Do in the Shadows. I got to show my wife that movie. But yeah, I don't know. A Minecraft movie is not made for me. I understand that.
Right.
I understand that I am not the target audience. So the question is, for me, because kids are going to flock to this and love it and whatever.
Yeah,
There's no question about that.
but it's going to be if again.
The question for me is, does it as a movie when we actually see it? Because the trailer, you can make a guess on the trailer.
And
but
it's a teaser, and this is the first thing that we're seeing from
Right.
this thing. So it really might be just a mishmash of stuff they had ready just to put out
Yes.
to get people excited for it.
Yeah.
But
the visual style may be completely different. I mean, they may pull
Right.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Although that, I am so convinced now that was on purpose.
yeah,
Like they had the actual design for Sonic that was the finished thing and said,
Right.
this is what we want to do, but it's still different from the cartoon. So make something ungodly horrifying, something so terrible that we can put that out and people will think we did what they wanted when we really just did our original plan. And they delayed it to their original date. I think that's what happened.
I think the film wasn't ready, and it gave them the extra time they needed to get it done.
See, I thought that for a long time, but looking at the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer and that introduction of Shadow the Hedgehog is spot on exactly how you should do Shadow the Hedgehog if you're basing him off the games. It is perfect.
Right. And you've said that.
They understand that. The people who are making these movies understand at least that bit. So I think that potentially they put the trailer out early for Sonic with an intentionally bad thing so that they would have time to go through the cycle of internet rage. We're fixing it, quote unquote,
Right.
and then releasing it at the time they originally thought they would release it. Like I'm full conspiracy theory on this now. I understand. I have no evidence, but the more I look at it, and after seeing the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer, I'm just like, there's no way a studio listened to people. No way that any one of these nincompoops who run these stupid companies listen to people.
Yeah, because they don't listen to the exhibitors, that's for sure.
This was just someone finally had a good marketing idea, which was to intentionally screw it up so bad that you could do the thing you were originally planning to do without backlash.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how else it could have happened. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it happened exactly as they said. But if you believe that, you probably believe the government. Anyway, Minecraft's probably. My question is, will it have merit as a movie, even as a kids movie? Because like Despicable Me 4, I think has some good, family dynamic stuff in it. It has merit as a film while still being a movie that's not made specifically for me.
So that's something I probably should have brought up when we were talking about Beetlejuice. So is the other thing that was really appealing to you about this was just the whole idea of family and the family dynamic for Beetlejuice 2, even though it's a rather oddball portrait of that?
It's an oddball portrait, and it is this family that's like cobbled together from different marriages and stuff. But I do like that. Yeah, like the whole thing between Lydia and Delia, and then starting with them like hating each other,
Right.
and then getting to the point where they're on the porch and she goes, "You hated me, and we've turned out all right, haven't we? And it's like, it's about that coming together and repairing those relationships and stuff. And yeah, I liked that. I didn't really think about that as why I liked it, but I think that did play a part in it. Yeah. And then seeing, when they see Astrid's dad and he's covered in piranhas, and like, that's all a very sweet moment. And even though their marriage had ended in divorce, there's still a respect there. Yeah. I liked that stuff a lot. It felt like a positive look at a mixed family. Yeah. And coming together, but not ignoring the fact that it's hard.
Right.
I like that you pointed that out, because that's something I hadn't thought about. Yeah. But I think it did strike a chord with me. Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Good movie.
So instead, since I didn't have the Minecraft trailer, I put in the Lord of the Rings Battle or War of
War of the Rohirrim. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see this.
I do too. I'm interested.
I'm interested enough. Like I've only seen a couple of animes. Death Note. Watched a little bit of One Punch Man.
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the
Shell.
And
I've seen Ninja Scroll. I've watched
Akira. I think I've seen Akira.
I've never seen Akira. And that's when they keep saying they're going to do a live action one, and Keanu Reeves was attached to that for the longest time.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything about that recently.
Small blessings.
Yeah, probably. And then
if Ghost in the Shell is anything to go by,
they got a anime, and actually a pretty famous anime director, from what I understand, too, to do this.
Yeah, he's very well known in the anime. I forget his name, but if you'll talk, I'll look it up.
Yeah, and the colors and everything on this just look amazing. It looks a little bit different than even the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings that was made in like the late 70s, early 80s. So this is going to be kind of an update to that, even though it's not connected to the original stories. It looks interesting enough, and I just hope to God it's not 3 hours long. So I don't think it is. I think what I read is the runtime on that's about 1:50.
Okay, that's not bad.
No,
yeah. The director is Kenji Kamiyama, who actually, funny enough, we mentioned Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
He produced and directed Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, so kind of a follow-up.
Okay.
That was an anime television series. So he's done some Ghost in the Shell stuff, and he's also done, what is some other stuff? He also did backgrounds on DuckTales. That's fun, from 1987.
Oh, nice.
Let's see. Yeah, Ultraman, Star Wars Visions. He did an episode of that, I guess.
Okay.
Blade Runner Black Lotus. He co-directed with Shinji Aramaki. And so he's been around. He's been in animation for a very long time.
Okay, so this is maybe like his first shot to do something really, really big.
Yeah, I think this is probably his highest profile. Sort of thing. Yeah. But I love the Lord of the Rings books, and I love
I do too.
that whole world, except for Rings of Power. But we don't talk about that.
Haven't seen that.
No need to go check it out, my friend.
Oh, okay, good.
None at all.
Yeah, you just saved me about 6 hours of TV viewing.
Well, the second season's out now, so I've saved you a total of 19.
Oh,
or something like that.
Awesome.
And
because my wife's got me watching Dexter now.
Yeah, spend your time watching Dexter, or just look at your wife while she watches things. That it would be much, much better than watching Rings of Power. just stare at her and go, "I love you." And
I do that anyway.
I do not have to watch Rings of Power, so I've won the trade here. But yeah, I think this will be interesting. The War of the Rohirrim, some of the artwork in it is just drop dead gorgeous from the trailer.
It's really cool looking.
So I think that'll be neat. Joey Chestnut set a world record of devouring 83 hot dogs in 10 minutes. And I just wanted to bring that up because of the guy who died in a hot dog eating contest.
I was going to say, was he in Beetlejuice?
John Stamos was kicked out of Scientology for goofing off. I will not elaborate.
That's a joke in itself. Who gets kicked out of Scientology?
They'll take anyone's money.
I know.
Oh my god!
Especially somebody rich and is John Stamos really rich and famous anymore?
Not since Fuller House shut down.
I did say the thing about Clooney and wolves.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before briefly, but Wolves was supposed to come out actually next Friday in Sony Pictures, and the trailer for it looked great. It's George Clooney and Brad Pitt as rival mobster cleanup kind of people.
Right, yeah.
Fixers, I think is what they're referred to. And
Correct.
they get stuck together on, an adventure. And I was kind of salivating because I'm like, "Ooh, another good title to add to September. Yay." Like this will do great.
Yeah.
Sony decided in their ultimate wisdom to make it a limited release, New York, LA, Chicago, and then put it straight to Apple Plus. So
And Apple is like one of the main backers of the film, too.
Right.
Like their
Right, it
Apple
was.
TV,
and
whatever.
When asked about it at the Venice Film Festival, the reporter that asked Clooney and Pitt, like, well, you guys made this much money on the movie, and they got really mad because they said once they found out what the release pattern on this film was going to be, they gave a lot of their salary back.
That's crazy.
And Clooney went on this rant about how it's almost impossible to make films in Hollywood anymore if they're just going to go to streaming.
Right.
And he mentioned that, he directed Last Christmas's Boys in the Boat, which, if you haven't seen it, fantastic movie. I highly recommend that. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Clooney can direct. He's done some really good stuff.
And so he said, a lot of the problems with that was finding a studio that would have a longer window from theatrical to home video, because he really wanted people to see that in the theater. And it does. It's a big screen film.
Darn.
And the one that would agree to that, surprisingly, was MGM, who's associated with Amazon.
Interesting.
They gave him the 6-week window that he demanded for him to get the film made, because if it wasn't for that, he said he was not going to make it.
Interesting.
And
Amazon also did the theatrical release of Beautiful Boy, which is Timothy Chalamet and Steve Carell, and that movie's fantastic too.
It is.
Yeah. Surprising when Amazon is the not evil one in the mix. Oh, Smile 2 has a 2-hour plus running time. Why?
I've been asking that for a couple weeks now, and I'm trying to get confirmation from our film buyer on that. And he's like, where are you getting this from? I'm like, well, it's from everything that I'm looking at with, box office and all the trades and stuff that I'm reading to do my research every week for what we need to book here. And it's 2 hours and 12 minutes long. And I'm like, what is this? The Gone with the Wind of horror films? I'm like, and it doesn't need to be that long.
I don't understand. Yeah. And it's like, it's only 17 minutes longer than the first one. But it still seems like once you hit that
the first one seems
mark,
long too.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. Smile was an okay film. Everybody made a big deal about it, I think, kind of more than they should have.
The marketing was very smart. Having these smiling people at baseball games and stuff. Like, they did a good job
for that. Yeah. But the second one looks really dumb. It does. And that's, we're going to have to do that next month because it's one of the films we're getting. Yeah. So,
well, I've come around a little bit on horror films since starting the show.
That's going to be next week.
Because it's Speak No Evil. I'm actually really excited for that one.
Me too.
That's more thriller than horror film, though, I think.
Yes.
James McAvoy is a scary dude. Also, I saw that he said I was doing research for this character and I based a lot of it off of Andrew Tate, and I just think that's one of the funniest things I've ever read.
That's the influencer. That's the documentary. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. What a scumbag.
Right. Yeah. So Andrew Tate sucks. But
yes. Yeah. Okay.
James McAvoy said he kind of based his character in Speak No Evil off of
wow.
Andrew Tate.
Well, the original version of this is on Shudder, and I'm probably going to try and watch it before we watch the new one next week.
Yeah.
Oh, so here, okay, back up a little bit. I digress. I'm sorry. So saw Reagan this week without you because you blew me off on something else. So
I'm very sorry. In my defense, we were going to lose the house.
Yeah, no, that's more important. So my wife and I went to go see Reagan. Actually, Reagan was really good. Okay. I was very surprised at actually how good it was, considering the guy that produced that is Kevin Mitchell, the guy that used to be my boss for Showbiz Cinemas when I worked for them. And seeing how he ran Showbiz Cinemas and equating that to him putting on a film, which the other film he produced was something about people sleeping around, which was a god-awful film that he, of course, put in his own theaters. And
was that the Clinton movie?
No. That we couldn't pay people to go see.
I'm sorry, it's such a stupid laugh, but I got a political joke in, and it's one that no one can be angry about because of the infidelity that was real.
But Reagan was actually really good.
Okay.
It shows how strong of character Reagan was and how tough he was.
Mm-hmm.
It touches a little bit. It touches. It does go into Iran Contra, and it was interesting how it was handled. Touches a little bit on the AIDS crisis in the 80s and how badly he handled it.
Oh, really?
And very little on that, though, and kind of how Nancy's just say no thing was a joke.
Was that to drugs or sex?
Drugs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But then there was also a part in the beginning of it where he had a big fight when he was part of the Screen Actors Guild, especially when he was president and vice president with Dalton Trumbo.
Yes.
Dalton Trumbo was the guy that was blacklisted and ended up bringing the blacklist down. And they show that in the film. And I think the blacklist is an interesting historical period in Hollywood that I love when stuff comes out about it. The problem is the films that they do with it, they don't do very well. People do not go see them. And I think it's something that really wants to be swept under the rug because it's just a black eye to the American public.
Who was it that played Trumbo in the one called Trumbo?
It was
Breaking Bad,
Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. Yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
That's
it's
what I've heard.
Really good.
Yeah.
So especially with you being a cinephile and liking you really should see that.
I saw the trailer for it and was like, oh, I like Bryan Cranston. I want to see that. And then just, life.
Because there's a part in the beginning with that where he has fights with Ronald Reagan.
Oh, interesting. Now, is this similar to like The Carpenter where it's an actual fighter or is it?
No.
Darn. And so we don't get an Uwe Boll style Rumble in the Bronx.
And well, that was Jackie Chan.
I know, but Rumble in the Bronx came out and I was looking for a fighty sounding name.
Okay.
And ignore me.
Just like what Kickboxer is now 35 years old. I saw that on really good Van Damme film. Like, no, it's not a really good, it's terrible.
Hold on now. Really good for a Van Damme film, I think, is what you meant to say.
No, it's not
entertaining though.
It's
at
bad.
Least. Like badly entertaining or just bad?
No, it's just bad.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind them. I would like to just point out that the director of Reagan directed Aliens Stole My Body and Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain. Soul Surfer, which actually is pretty good.
Soul Surfer's not bad.
The Sweet Life movie.
What's that?
The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. This guy's just... He also... Cats and Dogs 3, Paws Unite.
There was I sadly saw the second one, and it's awful.
I'm looking at the poster right here, and I'm regretting the fact that movies were made just a little bit.
Who gave money to that? Kevin Mitchell?
Cameron Mitchell. There was an episode
it's Kevin Mitchell.
No,
not
I know,
Cameron
but like
Mitchell.
first or second episode of the show, I was talking about some actor who shows up in all these terrible B movies. Who every time you see him, you're like, yeah, and it's Cameron Mitchell, and I don't know why that just triggered that. So I'm so sorry. That was very
That's
loud.
okay. But Dennis Quaid is good in that. He's got all the mannerisms of Reagan down.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it. Well, first off, I was probably the youngest person in the theater when I went to go see it, but it's an interesting and it's a good movie. I liked it.
Cool. All right. Well, I think I'm actually going to check it out since you've recommended it. Like we've talked about it a couple times now, and it's surprisingly glowing, especially for someone who I know your tastes now. Like I trust you.
Yeah, but I'm a sucker for true stories.
That too. But
it has to be handled the right way, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, and I think we were both kind of on the same page with the Mark Wahlberg dog movie we saw earlier this year. I can't remember the name of it now.
Oh, Arthur the King.
Arthur the King. Yeah, we both like that. So I think
definitely.
if we're on the same page with that one, I think I'll probably enjoy this too. Last thing to close this out, unless you have something.
Sure.
Okay. There is now a teaser trailer for Screamboat, which is Steamboat Making Horror, and
yeah. And I'm not going to play that here either, since I completely dropped Terrifier 3.
Terrifier's David Howard Thornton is playing Steamboat Willie.
Oh, Jesus.
So, all right. I just wanted to mention that so that we weren't feeling too good about things this week.
Well, the rumor about that, too, was Rob Zombie was directing that. And I was like, no, he's not. Because he was actually attached to some form of the project at some time. And I think even he had enough sense to go, no. I'm not going to be the subject. I get enough with the music that I make.
Yeah. This can't be good. it's about a mischievous mouse that stalks a group of New Yorkers on a late night ferry ride. So
it's like Jason Takes Manhattan.
I guess. I guess.
Oh, and then next week we're playing Friday the 13th Part 4.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
On Tuesday, Friday, and next Sunday.
Now I have to ask, why Part 4?
Because it's the 40th anniversary.
Ooh.
And it's actually one of the better ones in that series.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, that answered that question very simply.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Speaking of simply, let's end the show simply.
Yes.
But thanks for joining us on this.
Thank you.
There was a lot this week, but I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're looking forward to seeing Speak No Evil next week.
Yes,
and we'd love to hear what you think if you see it next
Yes.
week on Thursday or early enough on Friday, because we normally record Friday afternoons. Let us know what you thought. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Grand Review Pod.
And we'll be at the showing Thursday night.
That's right. So you may run into
hi.
us. You can come up and shake Andy's hand, give me a big slap on the side of the face for
Tell us how stupid we are.
And
And then I'll let you know how Killer's Game is next week.
Okay, cool.
Too.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the hit on that one for me because I saw it and I was just like, I don't think I can sit
If
through
anything,
this.
I get to spend a night in Austin with my lovely wife.
Yeah.
So there's a positive in that.
That's a win. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. And as we say here at the end of every episode, we'll see you
at the movies. Take care, y'all.
It's close enough to being on time.